Hey, everybody. Welcome to Mompreneur Mondays. I am one of your hosts, Angela Bell from the Inspired and Profitable Mompreneur. And I have my special guest here with me again today, Alicia Marcos Barong. Alicia, say hi and introduce yourself.
Hi, everyone. I'm Alicia Marcus Barong from Guided Choices and Chatter Girls. It's exciting to be on this again with Angela. I just love talking with her. I learn new things from her every day, and I hope all of y'all will enjoy this great opportunity with us today.
Yes, I enjoy having you on here as well. You do, I think last week I learned so much. I was like, I should be taking notes as well. Right. So I'm really excited about today's conversation, especially because it really ties in with a lot of different things I've been seeing online. But today we're going to talk about setting realistic goals, setting realistic financial goals as mompreneurs. And while that might sound like a numbers and math conversation, it's actually a lot more personal than that. Because we all need financial goals for our business and we all need goals for our business. But a lot of times we can get drawn into what we're seeing on social media or what we're seeing other coaches or entrepreneurs do. And all the talk, right? Like the $1 million years, the 6-figure months, all this stuff. And while those are really great goals to have, they're really great if they're right for you and if they're right for the stage your business is at. And if you just adopt them because that's what everybody else is doing, then you can very quickly find them demotivating, discouraging, and they can create a downward spiral. So we are going to talk today a little bit about how to set your own goals, your own financial goals, and what important bits are about them. So I know for me, I always think everybody's heard of this, but I don't know if they have. I always talk about SMART goals, which are your specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time bound. I also are you familiar with SMART goals, Alicia?
Yes, that I do know.
There we go.
I do that, and I really feel like in the past number of years, as my business went from a transition of being a life coach and went into a situation of having a program, I had to really look at the SMART goals in a whole different light. And so transition, I think, plays a lot in those goals because you're leaving something that you set before and you were secure. Now you're moving into that. I mean, just like you, you've changed what you did for a long time. You still do it, but you're moving into another area. So our goals have to be able to be changed as we move. And a lot of times they're not comfortable. And I agree so much with the social media thing. It kills me. It's like, I made $10 million in a day, or I did this. And I'm like, how do I delete these people? Just delete. But then I think, okay, maybe they know something that I don't know, but they don't know me.
That's just it. Right. And with the SMART goals, I think the one piece I want to really touch on is that realistic, right? The R. Because I struggled with realistic for a long time. I know when I had my food manufacturing company, I used to set these goals. Like at first I didn't set any because I didn't understand, what the company could do. And as I got to know it, I'd be like, oh yeah, we're going to, we did 2.5 million this year. We're going to do 5 million next year. Right. Because I doubled from 1.25 to 2. So of course I'll double from 2.5 to 5. But that logic doesn't necessarily follow through, right? Because and realistic doesn't mean giving up on your big goals, which we'll get to. Realistic means that you understand, that there's certain parameters in your business that create constraints, and unless you're willing to make certain changes to expand those constraints, you can't necessarily expand beyond them. So if you are a coach and all of your coaching is done one-on-one, you are that what a constraint is your time and energy. Like you can only see so many people in a day. And unless you're going to either go the group method or add additional coaches or do something else, that constraint will limit how many people you can see. It's not going to necessarily limit your income per se. You could increase your prices, but that's where realistic comes in, right? Is thinking about some of these other things and not just thinking that because you've doubled before, you'll double again.
Yeah. And so I would like to add another word to be on the same line. It's realistic and it's responsible.
Yes.
You have to be responsible for yourself first. Okay. And that's where the reality being realistic is, but responsibility to you first on looking at your timeline and all of that. And so I think that if you start with being responsible for yourself, you can balance the realistic information and being able to accomplish your goal. But responsibility is not something that we do real well as moms.
No.
You know? We really don't. And then when it moves into our factor of our business, that's the thing. And what do moms do first? Well, I'm responsible to my kids first and to me second. You know, then you're not going to make your realistic goals. You really
no. No. And this really nicely relates to this idea of setting goals that are for you and not what you're seeing on social media, because a lot of times what it takes to achieve the things you're hearing about, so what it takes to have, to go from a $1,000 month immediately to a $30,000 month is a lot. Right? Like there has to be a lot. And I guess it's kind of, it sets us as moms up, and especially mom entrepreneurs, it sets us up to be disappointed in ourselves and frustrated and discouraged because we don't have 5 hours a day to spend on social media. We don't have an additional 5 hours to spend on content creation and an additional 5 hours a day to spend on course creation, engagement, follow-up, and all that other stuff, right? We have to take care of ourselves, take care of our small humans, and still have a life that we kind of enjoy. And then find time in and amongst that to be able to work on our business or, structure our days so that we've got time. And even if we have full-time help and, a super supportive spouse and all that jazz, we still have energy that has to factor in. How much energy do we have? Do we want to be going full throttle 14 hours a day? And is that sustainable? So if we set goals that are realistic for ourselves, right? And I talked to one client about this. She's like, well, I write it on my list every day that I want to spend an hour on my business. And I said, okay, well, how realistic is that for you? Like, is there a day that you actually hit that? And she said, well, no. And I was like, how does that make you feel? And she said, terrible, disappointed, frustrated. And I was like, okay, what if you just set a goal to spend 15 minutes a day on your business? And she's like, I could do that. I was like, okay, try it for a week. And she did it, checked in. She said, yeah, I've done it 50. I was like, how do you feel? She's like, great. I've done it every day. And I was like, and that is the start of momentum. That is the positive spiral, right? When you set these goals that are realistic and you achieve them, you feel good. And so you want to keep going.
Yeah. And you took her to the fact of she was responsible to self. She knew that responsible to self meant she really couldn't do those hours, but she could set a goal there because you had her work within her feeling situation. I've never had people really help me when I was in life coaching, but as I developed Chatter Girls and stuff like that, I needed help. And so that is what the people at She Rises, I'm working with them, and that's how they've laid it out for me. Here are the things, and it will take you 3 hours. And then they go, and then I go, I don't got 3 hours to do that. And then they back up and they say, okay, look at yourself and what you do have. And that takes away what we talked about the other day. It takes away the guilt. Because we're going to guilt ourselves because we didn't do it, but we're guilting ourselves by not being responsible for ourselves. We need to be realistic. And I think that that's the biggest challenge, Angela, with moms, is we all want everything. My big thing is that was hard for me to learn is to allow somebody else to help me, to have a marketing team, or to have a personal assistant, or have a social media person. Because when you're a coach, most of the time you have complete control and nobody else is doing it. You're doing it all. And because we're moms, what do? We balance it all. Well, wait a minute. If you're an entrepreneur, you can balance some of it, but as you grow, let somebody else help you with the growth. You will grow faster that way. Absolutely. But that's a tough one. That's a really tough one.
It is. And so one thing I do want to clarify, though, is that I'm not telling people, and we're not telling people to like set mediocre goals or accept less than what their heart is telling them, right? You could still have like these great things. I had, for the people that know the term, BHAGs, big, hairy, audacious goals, right? I have BHAGs. I want to change the world in my own little way. But if I set that goal every morning to change the world today, I will quickly get discouraged because I won't see change. And so while having huge, audacious, inspiring, and motivating goals is a great thing, setting SMART goals and stretch goals along the way helps you get there. They're like milestones, right? You're not going to build everyone always used to say to me, Angela, Rome wasn't built in a day. And I was like, that's obnoxious. I'm not building Rome. I'm changing the world. But it's true, right? I mean, it took me a lot of internal work to get there and realize that is true. The joke used to be Angela thought, Angela wanted things yesterday, or Angela thinks the future is, whatever. Because I was impatient, like really, really impatient. And understanding the importance of, having my BHAG or having my stretch goal, my really big vision for my life, but then breaking it down into smaller and attainable goals. So, I mean, for your business, if you want to make $1 million a year and you're currently making $10,000 a year, you don't have to give up on that $1 million a year, but you're probably not going to do it this year. And that's okay, because you can set stretch goals. So if you're doing, $850 a month in revenue, and you know how to do that, and you can do it pretty consistently, a SMART goal and a stretch goal, something that you have to work for, right? You need a goal. A goal is not a goal if you could do it in your sleep. You need to have to work, change, and stretch for it. So if your stretch goal is to do $1,250, right, $1,250 a month, or $1,500 a month, that's not going to get you $1 million a year, but it is going to force you to grow, learn, and change. And so it's a good goal that's got you on your way to your $1 million year. Because once you have a few $1,500 months, then you can stretch again. And maybe you're confident that you figured something out and you want to stretch to 3,000, but why not just go for 2,000? Right? But here's the thing, is that's so personal. And by knowing yourself, only you know what the right goal is. Just because everyone, double it doesn't mean it's right.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's it. That's why I think about responsible, because it's like, you can have somebody come in and say, oh, you need to do this and you need to do this and everything like that. But when you walk away and you go, okay, I do want to achieve it, you need to also look at the achieving. So like you were talking about, you wanted to do it, change the world in a day and stuff like that. That wasn't responsible of yourself. And I bet that in the middle of it, there was something called perfection.
Oh, yeah.
And when we have that throws that reality of that goal somewhere else.
Mm-hmm.
If you at least make movement and my voice always is, no one is perfect, and there really isn't perfection. There is acceptance of what you wanted, but is there really something that's perfect?
No. And how I explain it to my kids is perfection is subjective. Perfect
exactly.
For who, right? Who defines that?
And it's whose eyes look at it.
Yeah.
In my eyes, I looked what I accomplished in my goal was perfect for me. But somebody else looking over here goes, well, no. So it's about how we look at it and how responsible we are on our goals. And to be able to, most of all, I love this word, realistic.
Yeah.
Because it's the train. It's the caboose. It's leading. No, it's not the caboose. It's the engine leading us, but we all have all these other things that are falling behind, and we have to have them. So yeah, I love the BHAGs. But yes, I do think SMART is the way to go.
Yes, I agree. Wonderful. So thank you all for joining us today. A couple things to take away. Take a look at what you want to do. We are now at the 1st of August. So what would you like to do in the last, 5 months of the year? We have 5 left. Look at what you've been doing so far, and set some goals that could stretch you, that are gonna ask a little bit more of you, that are gonna force you outside of your comfort zone, but also that in your mind, that it's possible. That if you do what you set out to do and you're committed to it, that it's possible for you to attain it. Because that possibility will keep you going. If it's unattainable, unrealistic, you'll give up on it. If it's not challenging, it won't motivate you. So let's look and see, what can you challenge yourself to do in the next 5 months? What can you challenge yourself to do this month and this week? We'd love to hear some comments down below. Love to see what goals you're going to set for yourself and how we can support you in achieving them. You can find me at the Inspired and Profitable Mompreneur and angelabell.ca. And Alicia, where can everybody find you?
You can find me at guidedchoices.org and on Facebook and at Chatter Girls. You also remember that what we ask of you is what we always also we're doing for ourselves.
Absolutely.
So we encourage you. I'm working on my next 5 months. I support you in any way you can. Thank you.
Perfect. Thanks, Alicia. Thank you, everybody. Enjoy the rest of your day.